that really is the disincentive for innovation then, is when the people who actually are innovating aren't making money off of it because they're getting crowded out by the people who are just playing a good game.
Back to the show, The Video Insiders, with Mark Donnigan and Dror Gill.
What Unified Patents does is it gets contributions from member companies, as well as it allows small companies to join for free. And they participate in joining what we call zones. And these different zones are intended to protect against what we consider unsubstantiated or invalid patent assertions. The video codec zone was something that we were thinking about for a long time. It's something that I'm very familiar with from my past dealings with MPEG-LA and other pools.
Now, Shawn, one of the things that I noticed is you're acting both against NPEs, so non-practicing entities, and against SEPs, so standard essential patents. What are the issues with SEPs?
Well, I mean, the general assumption has been, and I don't know where this assumption came from, was that standard essential patents, or people who declare them patents to be standard essential, are more likely to be valid than other patents. And in the real world, where there's litigation and there's challenges and things get checked out or vetted, essentially, adversarially, the reality is that standard essential patents, in all the studies that have been done, fare far worse than normal patents do on average. And it's not surprising that a lot of these patents have underlying ideas that had been done in the past or other people had brought up previously. Sometimes they weren't accepted, sometimes they were, or sometimes they were put on hold. Who knows? But there's a lot of prior art oftentimes in these areas. These aren't open fields. These aren't brand new innovations that typically come up.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's not surprising. The problem is there's tons of over-declaration that occurs in this area. There's very little incentive. I mean, in some places there's more of an incentive than others. But the way MPEG works specifically is that you can do blanket declarations. And so you don't have to declare specific patents. In other standards, you have to basically declare each individual patent that you have. So, I mean, there's all kinds of trade-offs in all these different things. But the reality is that no one really knows exactly how many patents need to be licensed. And that just creates a lot of uncertainty. The licensors have a way of getting together, agreeing on a price, and then licensing through an organization like MPEG-LA or others to do that type of activity, or Velos, or whatever it is. They choose, they can select a price, they can work together, agree on a price. And the reason why they can do that, according to the DOJ, is because it's a different product than what's available before. So it decreases uncertainty by making it easier for people to take a license of convenience for that specific technology area. The issue comes up is that a lot of these pools, don't talk about the pricing. They don't look at the validity. They don't really have a great essentiality checking on top of it. And they're very much incentivized to help out the licensors, not the licensees. A lot of these patents that we've challenged relate not just to HEVC, but potentially to AV1 and other codecs like ABC as well, because there's such overlap between these things. That's why we generically called it, video codec. So obviously a lot of the things that we've looked at in like the economic report and everything else in the landscape, a lot of the focus has been on HEVC. Like I said, we've done a bunch of different stuff. We had a submission repo called Open, where we collated all of the prior art, not prior art, but submissions into the standard for HEVC and ABC and other standards from MPEG, so people can make it easily searchable. In fact, 50% of the prior art that we got for our patent challenges came from the submission repo, which is great, which is basically, previous submissions to the same standard. We have Opal, which is our landscape tool. And then, obviously we have our OVAL, which is our valuation report that I mentioned for HEVC. And then we did a bunch of reviews of validity and challenged a bunch of patents in different licensing entities. I mean, Velos, I think they don't consider themselves a pool, just to be clear. Velos is, an unusual beast in that it owns a number of patents that got transferred to it, as well as it provides licenses to the people who participated. The other patent holders in general are much more traditional in their patent pool type activity, in that the patent holders are different from the people who are doing the licensing.
And you're not suing the patent pools like MPGLA and HEVC Advanced are not your targets.
Well, they don't own patents directly. So There's really nothing to do as far as I know. I mean, you could say, part of it is we're challenging them to a certain degree on their pricing and kind of their whole model of not looking at validity by challenging some of their patents, as well as, putting them on notice that as they get more patents in, we might challenge further patents for validity. So why don't they do it ahead of time? If you have a bunch of patents in there, just like you're checking for essentiality before you allow a patent in, you check for validity, because there's a bunch of patents that just aren't valid, that they should not be making money off of. It just incentivizes people to get more invalid patents in the same space that they can stick into a pool to get a bigger share of it, like a giant game, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm wondering, what is the cost to test for essentiality?
Yeah, I mean, essentiality is oftentimes more expensive than validity in some cases. But, I mean, they do test for essentiality. The companies pay to have their own patents tested oftentimes for essentiality. But there is no test for validity that they enforce. So no one actually does it. If they did ask for it, I'm sure people in some cases would pay for it. But more importantly, people who didn't think their patents would be found valid probably wouldn't submit them in the first place then. We have a bunch of patents that come into our hopper that we're constantly looking at in every single zone that we're in. And we're constantly looking and seeing if it's a valid patent or not. And there's multiple ways of doing that. We have crowdsourcing that we do for that. We have, we just pay people, in order to do prior art experts, for example, to do prior art searches. In general, people should be able to make money off of a valid patent. The problem is that a lot of people are making a lot of money, in my opinion, off of a lot of bad patents and invalid patents, which hurts the people who actually do have good patents because they're getting crowded out, which is sad.
Thank you for listening to the Video Insiders Podcast, a production of Beamer Limited. To begin using Beamer's codecs today, go to beamer.com/free to receive up to 100 hours of no-cost HEVC and H.264 transcoding every month.